This is AG Marie or Simmer AG Marie. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. So today is June 3rd, 2021. That's when I'm recording this video, and hopefully when I have it uploaded as well. So today marks 115 years since the birth of Josephine Baker. She's one of my favorite entertainers, one of my favorite performers. As far as knowing like biographical information about her, I would say knowledge of her on a scale of 1 to 10, I think I'm pretty much at like a 6.5 maybe. I've read through like certain different biographies online. I had borrowed one of her biographies from the library when I was in college. I can't remember the name or the author, but I remember when I was reading this, some of the language or some of the way it was written was kind of like throwing me off a little bit. But she is someone that I have known and had knowledge of since I was a kid. So for this video, I wanted to draw inspiration from Josephine Baker in the 1930s. She's popular for her look in the 1920s. This look that you see here, with the finger waves and the spit curls and the banana skirt, the burlesque look, partially nude look. But I wanted to kind of draw inspiration from how she looked in the 1930s. So again, I do say I want to emphasize this is a Josephine Baker-inspired sim, and the reason I am saying that is because if it comes out badly, or if I decided that if it came out badly, I would be able to lean onto that excuse and be like, oh, it's not necessarily Josephine Baker, it's Josephine Baker-inspired. But those two pictures that you saw, I got a little notification letting me know that the moon has moved into another planet or another sign. The two pictures, those are my main sources for creating her face. I used some full-length photos to get an understanding of her body. Now again, this is someone that I've known since I was a kid and have been aware of, but it's kind of different when you recognize someone and you know someone's face, but then you actually have to really look deep into their features in order to perfect a recreation of them in a so to say. And yeah, that's what I did. There are some photos that I didn't show, but I did check out some full-length photos. Her looks and the way she appeared again in the 1930s, and also in the movie called Juju. It's a French movie. Those were all pretty much what I kind of looked to and what I googled to kind of help me get her face together. Now the thing about Josephine Baker is, I noticed, again, this is something that I did not really pay attention to, or I haven't paid attention to over the years. I've noticed that her facial features, as all humans do anyway, throughout the years, her facial features kind of changed. So it was hard for me to get like really kind of, first of all, there's makeup that kind of contributes to that. And then I think throughout the years, her weight, I won't say her weight fluctuated, but I think based on the pictures that I saw, this is me speculating, but I think that Josephine Baker, and then also hair is a factor, but I think when she might have gained a little weight throughout the years, I think that weight typically went to her face. And sometimes what would happen is the shape of her, not the shape of her eyes would change, but like the area around her eyes, it would kind of change the way that her eyes look. So I would look at one picture and be like, okay, her eyes look this way, and then I would look at another, but no, they look this way. And then, like I said, this was the case. Makeup had an effect on that, as well as hairstyles, and her nose was kind of the same way. And I will say, I do believe that makeup probably kind of changed the way that her nose looks sometimes as well. And you'll see me kind of go in this video like back and forth trying to get her nose right, because like I said, I was really like set on making this sim perfect as perfect as possible. And the thing that was kind of frustrating me a little bit is the way her nose was shaped. This particular shape, pretty much all the shapes that I kind of played around with in the game, they were kind of spot on, but the thing is, like, the bulb of her nose kind of tipped down a little bit further, a little bit more than her nostrils did, just a tiny bit. And I could not get that, I could not recreate that on a nose, on any of the maxes, I guess you could say, nose shapes. So I was just like, okay, like this is gonna be a little difficult, but I try not to worry too much about it. And as far as her lips go, she had kind of small lips. She had lips that kind of remind me a little bit of Rihanna, but Rihanna a little bit bigger, and she had like a very prominent Cupid's bow. And again, that's something like looked at this woman since I was a kid, and that was something else that I didn't notice until I did that. It's like it's really interesting. Like I said, I guess when you're not like intentionally trying to stare at somebody's face, you don't notice certain things. But I was just like, oh, I didn't realize that she had like a very prominent Cupid's bow. And another thing that was a little hard for me when it came to her mouth, I couldn't quite get the shape of her mouth, or it took me a while to get that. Like the pictures that I put at the beginning of this video, the second one where she had the spit curls, that's what I used to kind of get her mouth shape together. But I noticed in probably like 95% of the pictures of Josephine Baker, she's smiling. So I'll say 90%. She's smiling, so it's like so hard to like kind of figure out like how her face looks rested, like all of her features, because she's smiling in pretty much every picture that's been ever taken of her. And I say that because like that's like, I mean, that's something really cool to be able to say, or to know, like, in hindsight, to look back and say this person, not to say like, oh, they were always happy all the time, but this person really smiled a lot and seemed to find like a lot of joy on stage and when performing, and in character, in persona, and things like that. I didn't mean to make this like deeper than what I was planning on, what I intended. All right, so we're in her everyday look. So if you see photos of Josephine Baker, like when she's just like walking around on the street, she's pretty much dressed like the average woman in the 1930s, more so like the average Parisian woman, because, like I said, at this time, and as it's probably known by a lot of people, she was pretty much a citizen of Paris for most of her life until she died, from her 20s until her 70s when she passed away, and or late 60s. And so in the 1930s, her street fashion was pretty simple, as was her makeup, and this was kind of the case for a lot of people. Now the thing is, I did have to look at find a few color photos of her. I couldn't find any naturally colored photos from the 1930s. A lot of the photos that you see, they are colorized, as opposed to like having been taken with color film. So I used photos of her from like the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s, and that kind of helped you get like her, figure out her skin tone and everything, thing like that. And then another thing, like a lot of black people in the past, in the 20th century when makeup was a thing, it was also, you had a lot of people who kind of wore makeup that was a little bit lighter than their skin. So you'll see some pictures where she looks very light, but then there are some where you can see most of her body, and you can tell that she has on like a lot of powder, because the rest of her skin is a somewhat of a different color than what her face looks like. And this is something that was just like widely I won't say accepted, but if you like look at a lot of old pictures of black people from that time and they're in color, you'll notice that it was just like, it didn't seem like it was a big deal. It was just normal. And that's because people were so used to the lack of cosmetic options for, people with brown skin. All right, so we are now in the formal wear. So I already knew this is similar to a dress that she wore in the movie I was telling you all about, Juju, and that's Zou. It could very well just be like Zuzu, and I'm like putting extra animation on it for no reason. So, and another thing about Josephine Baker, she was heavy on the headpieces in stage performance, especially in the 1930s and 40s. Hair, first of all, she's a style icon, hair icon. The 1920s, it was the spit curls and finger waves, and that kind of moved into the 1930s as well. And then sometimes she wore curls and these very nice updos. But then you move into like the 1940s and 50s, and Mama was wearing like hair to the sky, like hair down her back, and it was never just like a simple, straight look or simple curly look. It was like always super intricate. So I didn't have any hairstyles like that, or I hadn't downloaded any. Again, this is mostly supposed to be inspired by her 1930s looks. But um, during that time, again, the 1930s, she wore headpieces when she performed. Big earrings. Big earrings were definitely a thing for her, like even way into the 1970s. And not just big old hoops, like huge earrings in different shapes and different sizes and things. And I don't want to keep saying things like that over and over again. So now we're in her sleepwear. Her at some point I'm gonna go back and change her athletic wear. I do remember that I did that. Um, I kept that simple for the most part, and I also want to make sure I didn't want to make a modernized version of this of Josephine Baker, so to say, but I didn't. I used what I had and what I could find, but like I said, and this is an example. Josephine Baker wore outfits like that see through, that mesh outfit. There's a picture of her wearing something similar to that, but it didn't look quite as modern. So I wanted to find something that was like that, or put this sim in something similar to that, but I couldn't really find anything in my mod. So I settled on this dress. This is a 1930s inspired dress that I downloaded. So if you have any questions about the custom content that I use, please ask in the comments and I will answer there, because I can't remember where I got half this stuff. But this finger wave style is from Graham Sims. I do know that for certain. So yeah. All right, so I'm looking for earrings for this look. I didn't settle on those. I think I put hoops on this. Oh, those. And as you can see, I gave her traits. So I gave her the good trait, loves outdoors, and music lover. And that was Josephine Baker's thing. She got into the entertainment industry because she liked dancing. Like, she came in as a dancer, and then she blew up and became a singer and an actress on the stage, film actress more so. And I wanted to use this curly hair. This hair is by Kiko Vanity, because even though there are photos of Josephine Baker with her hair just like it's not styled in any way, and but you can still kind of tell that it's straightened, or rather, there are some photos where her hair has been straightened, but you can tell the curls are kind of coming in, like her natural curls are coming in. And that's why I chose that particular hairstyle for athletic wear. Just something like kind of like possibly natural, or similar to what her natural hair might have looked like, possibly. All right, and then I chose this jumpsuit for her hot weather wear. I wanted to find something cheetah print, because she infamously had a pet cheetah. So I was just like, oh, I can throw something cheetah on her, and like in honor of that, but I couldn't really find anything in my in the content that I had. And let's see if there's anything else that I need to mention or point out. Oh, I do need to mention that this sim is not in the gallery yet, because when I was making it, um, the all the online features for the Sims, or I don't know if it was Origin or EA or the Sims alone, but all of the online features were unavailable at the time. I don't know if that was just my computer or my system, or if it was like a worldwide thing, but I couldn't upload it to the gallery. So I just downloaded this coat today, and I was just like, she absolutely would have worn this, and I'm getting it. I said I got it like I bought it, but I downloaded it from, I can't remember where, but I was like, this is perfect. Like, she absolutely probably would have worn something like this out on the street in the wintertime. So yeah, and we're close to the end. I love figuring. I like the makeup, as you can see, I almost started talking about this. I kind of, again, kept it pretty simple. The thing was, most of the people who wore like heavy makeup were movie stars, and most of the time that was typically only on the set, on movie sets, so they can, so the on photography sets, so the makeup can show up on camera back in the day. So I kind of put heavy makeup on her formal looks and her party wear. As you can see, I've got her posing for photos. So now that headpiece that she has on, those are actually two headpieces. I was trying to find some online. I couldn't quite find what I wanted, and I downloaded a few of them, but they weren't gonna go well with what the outfits that I put her in. But that last one, those were two headpieces that I just kind of put together. You can tell that they kind of like clash a little bit, but I still went on and used it anyway. So that is the end of the video. I named this Sim Frida McDonald. That was Josephine Baker's birth name. Again, it's not in the gallery yet. Like, as I'm finishing this video, it's not in the gallery, but follow me on Origin, or my Origin ID is aigelovesims, and you'll find it there at some point. I don't know when, sometime this week or this weekend. So thank you so much for tuning in and stopping by. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and you can follow me on Twitch at AGMarie92 or twitch.tv/AGMarie92. And I am also on Tumblr at SimmerAGMarie. So I will catch y'all another time.